Hello all you hellions and welcome back. Today we are going to talk about the conclusion to Dario Argento's Three Mothers trilogy. This film was filmed in 2007 and it is of course Mother of Tears. So the second movie in this trilogy, Inferno, was released in 1980. So this is 27 years in the making, which is kind of baffling considering that in 1984, Daria Nicolodi, who is the co-writer of that movie, said that the script for Mother of Tears was already completed. They just needed some time to iron out the details. So that's 27 years of ironing. So needless to say, my expectations were pretty high. So Mother of Tears. We are going to start out with what I considered the pros of this movie. And we're starting out with those because, well, it's not going to take nearly as much time. So unfortunately. So we're going to start out with the deaths. There were some pretty good death scenes in there. We had a woman who was strangled by her own intestines. Again, there was just a lot of gore, which was above and beyond, and that's come to be expected of Dario Argento. And I actually liked it when Asia, is that how they pronounce it? Asia Argento, the daughter of Dario Argento and Daria Nicolodi. So she's the star in this, and the very opening scene, you see people, I believe they're priests, are digging up a grave that's on the outside of a cemetery, and on top of this grave you find an urn. So that was pretty cool. They opened it up. There was what they call, it was kind of a shroud, like a red shirt. There was that in there. There were three figurines, which I kind of figure are going to be the three sisters, or as they call them in these movies, the three mothers. And they had a sacrificial knife. That whole thing I thought was pretty cool. There's a scene where a witch blows some kind of magic dust into the air, and it makes it to where you can see all of the spirits that are around you all the time. That's another aspect of this movie that I really liked, because I do believe in spirits, ghosts, whatever you want to call them. And so it's just, it was neat. It was a neat way to show that they're around us all the time. We just can't see them. That was pretty cool. And for those of you who like this type of thing, there is plenty of tits and ass. Now on to the cons. So right off the bat, I noticed there's no mention of keys. Again, that's not really a deal breaker for this movie, but considering that they made such a big deal out of it in Inferno, you would think that it would carry on into Mother of Tears, and that just didn't happen here. So not really consistent with their storytelling, which Argento isn't really known for his storytelling abilities. He does better in some than others, but in this one it just wasn't there. Now let's talk about the witches. This movie is based off of Mater Lacrimarum. She is, the main witch. You'll see her in here. And what's actually kind of cool is in Inferno, the woman who you see in the classroom that's looking over at Mark, the woman holding the cat, they wanted to use her to revise her role as Mater Lacrimarum, but she turned it down because she's in retirement. 27 years later, that's gonna happen. So the witches, these other witches that follow Lacrimarum, they, how do you say it, are not intimidating in the least. They're going through the airport, they're going on the sidewalks, whatever, and as they're passing people, they just kind of do a little at them, and it's not scary. Here's the whole thing. Those witches are not in any way intimidating. I would just bark right back at them if they did that to me. I just find them to be very obnoxious as opposed to intimidating. If I saw them coming at me, bitch slaps all around. I'm just saying, they would have absolutely nothing on me. No intimidation. It's just, no. They wouldn't even be a blip on my radar. So that was really disappointing. I mean, if you're going to have a coven of witches, make them look good. I mean, this is 2007. There's a lot that they could have done to make these witches just look incredible and be incredibly intimidating and scary. And they didn't do that. And that was highly disappointing. And that goes with Mater Lacrimarum. She wasn't intimidating as well. The only thing she had going for her was she was naked all the time and she looked good. That was it. Her laugh, what she would say, all of it, just nothing compared to what it could have been. Very disappointing. Then we have the people around this town. Oh, and by the way, this is in Rome. That's where the home of Mater Lacrimarum is. And it's in an old church. That part's cool. I do like the old church. But anyway, so everybody that lives in Rome in this town, or probably all around it, I don't know, didn't really care to pay that much attention to it, I hate to say. They were going around just acting crazy. Lunacy had taken over. There were suicides, mass suicides. There were babies being thrown over a bridge. There was another baby, well, toddler, I would say, who was being just massacred, eaten. And I think it was just for the shock value, but that's okay, because again, a lot of horror movies are for shock value. But the problem I have is that this was supposed to occur under Mater Lacrimarum, but in the story that the inspiration for this came from, it was Mater Tenebrarum. She was the one, the Lady of Darkness, Our Lady of Darkness. She was the one who was the mother of lunacies and the suggestress of suicides. It should have been her in this movie. They should have swapped places. Lacrimarum should have been in Inferno. Tenebrarum should have been in Mother of Tears. That's something that has been really frustrating for me the whole time watching the trilogy, is if you're going to base it off of characters that already exist, you got to do it right. You got to pay attention to that kind of detail. Sorry if there's a little bit of an angle change, like with the last video, my battery died. And again, if you hear snoring, once again, that is Vincent. Let's take a look. Yeah, he's sleeping real good. He's been sleeping a lot lately. I think he might be going through a growth spurt. So anyway, back to Mother of Tears. Let's see, where was I? I actually had to take a lot of notes on this one because, again, I lost interest in this movie very early on. So there you have it. So there's a lot of running on Dario Argento's part during this movie. She's always running away either from witches that are not at all scary, or she's running away from the investigators, from the death of her friend in the very beginning of the movie. That wasn't even really worth mentioning, but there was a baboon that, I don't know, I guess he played his part. He's the one that found her when she was hiding. He was kind of their watch baboon. I don't know. Anyway, so she's running around a lot and she gets herself in a couple of precarious situations, and all of a sudden she hears this voice. Like, I think one of it is go, and then the other voice is concentrate, and it makes it to where she can turn invisible. So she meets this witch, the one with the powder that I told you about earlier, where she was able to see all the spirits around, and she finds this witch who actually used to be friends with her mother. Now, her mother, she always believed had died in a car wreck. I think it was her mother and her father. And come to find out, that's not what happened. She died because she died by weakening Mater Suspiriorum in Suspiria. So that's the only kind of connection that they have. And then they mention Susie Banyan, who later on destroyed Mater Suspiriorum. So that was kind of a thing. And then with the ghosts, where you see the spirits all around because of the powder, all of a sudden that scene, that one really cool scene, is ruined because, boom, her mother, who is played by her mother in real life, Daria Nicolodi, she just comes in. Horrible effects. It's not worth getting into that anymore. And then one of the last things I had an issue with is there was no Argento flair. We didn't have the color scheme. We didn't have the music. Goblin had no part in this movie. And it just felt like it wasn't Argento, which I don't understand because, again, it's a part of a trilogy. Maybe stick to a theme. If you wanted to change it up a little bit, fine. That's perfectly fine, but maybe after this movie. So that was really disappointing. This whole movie was disappointing from beginning to end, except for the very beginning, the whole part digging up the grave. I thought that was pretty interesting, and I thought, okay, maybe this movie will turn out to be good. So I have no enjoyment with it. I will not watch it again. So all in all, there were not enough enjoyable scenes for me to like this movie at all. The possibilities for this movie were endless. It just felt like they threw it together in a half-assed way. Mother of Tears gets a very unenthusiastic 2 coffins. If you can get any enjoyment from watching it, more power to you. I know there's some of you out there who are diehard the whole trilogy, and that's great. You know, get your enjoyment where you can. And if it happens to be Mother of Tears, I'm jealous. I wish I could say I loved it. That does it for me. Make sure to subscribe if you like this content, and also feel free to leave a comment. I do read them, and it would be kind of fun to have a conversation with somebody about this, especially if you disagree with my opinion. I would love to know what you loved about it, maybe what you hated, or anything really. Any kind of horror topic would be great. Thank you all for watching, and see you next time.